KTN News. Now, Kenyans have been reacting to this move by government to relax COVID containment measures. While some are praising the government's decision, there are those who are raising concerns. Kimani Githuku reports.
Any person visiting a supermarket or any other open-air market to begin wearing protective masks immediately.
The Ministry of Health issued the COVID-19 measures in April 2020. Wearing of masks in the public was now compulsory, and no one was left behind, with President Uhuru Kenyatta himself leading the way.
Nani alichukua maski yangu jamani?
Apart from that, a nationwide curfew that restricted movement and affected business was one that many still remember. At some point, there was specific restriction of inter-county movement. The National Police Service was key in implementing these measures. Now, all that is in the past, and Kenyans have a reason to smile.
Serikali kwa ajili wameondoa hii mambo ya maski. Ilikuwa ni matatizo kwa sisi ambao tuko na mapato ya chini, ya kwamba kila siku tunanunua mask.
Sasa kama wananchi unajua tuko tunaumia. Hiki tunajua sasa maisha kama kwa politics ilikuwa inaendelea kama kawaida. So ilikuwa tunakaa kama kawaida, watu walikuwa wanashikwa juu ya vitu ndogo ndogo. Kama mimi personally nimeilala kwa cell juu nilikuwa nakula watermelon nje barakoa. Sasa mimi kama imetolewa, mimi hiyo news nimeipa pongezi sana.
Actually barakoa ilikuwa inatu like suffocates, unaona, but kwa sasa at least we can breathe the fresh air that the trees are giving us.
The only way to develop defense mechanism is through vaccination. In as much as ndio hiyo imekuwa lifted, wenye hawajakuwa vaccinated hawavai barakoa.
But a section of citizens are, however, not happy.
Kazi wanaharibia watu. Serious. Na wakulima wadogo. Watu wafanya kazi ya hizi vitu. Kusema watu wasivae, kusoni kumaanisha hata ukienda kwa huko kwenye unasema tukienda kwa mikutano, hakuna kitu itakuwa ikisaidia. Kama huko nje uvae mask, mbona kwa mikutano uvae mask?
Sasa hii tuko kwa nini ya campaign. Sasa ndio unaona sasa wamefanya nini? Wametoa hiyo mambo.
Health CS Mutahi Kagwe has called upon Kenyans to ensure that they maintain social distance since the virus is still with us.
Wewe ukitaka kuvaa barakoa wakati wowote, hiyo ndio hata mzuri zaidi kuliko wao wengine. Lakini ni vile tu tunasema hatutaki mwananchi asubuliwe na polisi ama wengine ukiwa huna barakoa, ukiwa unatembea nje ama kwingineko.
Kimani Githuku, KTN News.
Staying with us, let's now engage Professor Thumbi Mwangi, who is the co-director, University of Nairobi Center of Epidemiological Modeling and Analysis, and equally an associate professor, Washington State University. Good evening, Professor, and thank you very much for joining us here on Weekend Prime. From where you stand, what informed the recent decision by the government to ease up regulations?
Many thanks for allowing me to be part of this conversation. I think that the important thing for us to remember is that the restrictions were put in at a time when the cases of COVID-19 were really growing. And what that meant is that the likelihood of getting a case or getting someone who was infected close to you and possibly infecting you was very high. Now, as the Cabinet Secretary indicated, in the last 1 month, we have had very few cases happening within the country, which means that the likelihood of coming into contact with a person who has COVID-19 or is passing it through transmission has really gone down. And I think for the pandemic, the most important thing for us is to know that there will be switch on and switch off kind of reactions or restrictions that we put in, just to make sure that at whichever point that we are at, we are minimizing the risk of spread and also the minimizing the risk of severe infections that come from, particularly for certain persons.
What is the next step when it comes to the fight against COVID-19, especially since we have been seeing cases resurging, different variants coming up? I mean, how do we continue this journey to normalcy and still be cautious, especially since the inoculation rate remains low at around 28.5% of the adult population have been vaccinated so far? All right, we see